There's a lot of people out there right now who have, ever since COVID 2020, 2021, in the back of their head, have literally known that what they're doing, how they're doing it, how they're being paid, how they're managing their calendar, income, taxes is not working. Like, they're fully freaking aware for 4 years. They're like, but they haven't done anything about it. First time, so good to see you, Destiny. Well, I can't technically see you, but like I see you, you know what I mean? Naomi, Chris, what's up? Maddie, you guys are awesome. What's up, what's up, what's up? Good to see all of you. Make sure that you share the calls with your teams. We do these calls once a month. It's kind of like a state of the union, an update, how things are going, things that you may want to consider thinking about or doing in your business. It's meant to be more of a general call inside the Global Prosperity Movement community. I know we have some people here that are in the wider Enagic family as well. So if you guys aren't actually directly in GPM, but you're still in Enagic and you're here, welcome. It's awesome to have you guys as we continue to grow and expand all over the world and get into massive momentum. Today's call, I really wanted to talk about some of the mindset pieces around, you know, recession and economic downturns and sort of the doom and gloom and things that you may or may not be paying attention to with elections and stuff, especially in the US. It could feel very intense, right? Like the last time that we had this type of intensity as a collective out there was around the pandemic times, right? 2020, 2021. There was a lot of division, a lot of hatred, a lot of anger, a lot of like ego and I'm better than you and what I believe is right and what you believe is wrong. And there was a lot of that and I feel like so many people actually wasted a ton of their energy. They wasted their mental power to create, to move forward, to grow, to make a difference because they were spending so much time like gripping on to the things that were out there that was being talked about. And you can see a lot of this happening right now as well. And it's not by accident. That's the most important thing that we need to realize is that this is intentional. This is the way it's designed to be. Drama, propaganda, negativity, division, hatred, strong, like ethical stances around certain things. It's all meant to sell you stuff, right? And depending on your lifestyle, depending on your habits, depending on your awareness level at this time, some of you are very disconnected from this stuff. You don't turn on the news, you're not reading the news, you're staying away, you're unfollowing negativity on social media and so on. And that's the same camp that I'm in. I'm 99% completely removed. I ignore it. I don't get caught up in it. I don't pay attention to it. I focus on what I can control, and I recommend that you do the same thing because you're already removing yourself from the masses. You're removing yourself from the matrix. You're removing yourself from so much by being a part of Enagic and what this company represents in terms of the value of compassion and true health and making a difference and giving, and also becoming somebody who is sovereign with their business to be global, a global citizen, and also be able to generate an income online, being location independent. There's so many things that you have unlocked by being here, by making that initial investment, even from something like tax savings and write-offs. Even if you're not making money yet or you haven't made sales yet, the benefits of what you're receiving by being here with us in the community far, far outweighs what the typical average person out there has. And I was talking with my wife about this a little bit and how it can, the more successful you become financially, with your time freedom, with your level of awareness, the more isolated you can start to feel if you're not surrounded by a community of people who see things similarly to you, who are on a similar path to you. Because your friends from the past, your coworkers from the past, even sometimes extended family members that you've had growing up your whole life, they may not see things like you do. And I was doing some research online like ChatGPT and trying to find out some statistics around what would be considered top 1% income earners in the world, or top 1% income earners in Canada or the US or Europe and so on. And I think it's important for us to have this type of education and insight because, for example, if you make $1 million or multiple millions a year of income, not sales revenue, but income, you're considered to be in the 0.01% of income earners on the planet amongst 8 billion plus people. So you can imagine that if that was you, in this case, it is me already, but it is a lot of you as well, and more of you will be in that category. It's like, who do you talk to about your life? 0.01% of human beings can relate. They can relate to your emotions. They can relate to your struggles, your challenges, all these things. And the other people can't really relate. So that can make you feel quite isolated if you're not hanging out with other people in a similar, it's not just about money, but it's about relatability. Like, I have problems, I have challenges, but they're not always easy to express or to share or to talk about with someone who's not in a similar situation. So why am I getting at all of this? Because when we remember that we are the light workers, right? We're the light bearers. We're like the lighthouse, literally, in times of darkness. It is going to feel exponentially more difficult and harder to be the resistance to a lot of the stuff that's going on right now, because you're having to deal with more pessimism, more skepticism, more cynical people, right? There is a level of the bullshit detectors for people. They have a tougher time believing that good things exist when the doom and gloom and negativity is just focusing on all the bad stuff out there. When something good comes along, such as what we do and the company that we're with and the way that we go about living our lives in general, it's going to be, during this period, a little bit more challenging for people to believe us, to just say yes, to move forward. We have to be prepared for that. So moving into this next season of the election stuff in the next few months, it could be pretty intense, right? You're going to feel like you're going through a lot with removing yourself from your little bubble. Like on this call, for example, right? We don't have negativity here. We are not feeling stressed or anxious or all this type of stuff when we're in this environment. Most of us feel fired up, excited, motivated, inspired, feeling hopeful for the future. A lot of positive things, love, community, connection. And so what happens is you remove yourself from this call, or the call ends, you go back to your job, or you go back to your family, or you go back to watching the news or something like this. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, it's like stepping into a completely different reality. And sometimes this happens on like sales calls and stuff, where we'll get on the phone with somebody, we're having a great day, we're feeling the mojo, feeling the vibe. And then this person's like doom and gloom and fear, and a lot of stuff can come up. And this is our job, to be able to like handle this, right? To be able to process this, to shift people's paradigms, to have them look at things differently. And that coaching, that mentorship, that leadership begins in that initial interaction. It doesn't begin when somebody pays money to buy Enagic from you and officially partner with you. And a lot of people, they haven't made this adjustment and this shift. It's like when someone puts their hand up and says, help me, they put in their name and email, they DM you on social media, they get on a Zoom or a phone call with you, or you meet up with them in person. At this point, they're already saying, lead me. They're already saying, show me the way. They're already saying, I'm stuck. I have an issue. I have a problem. Can you please support me? So we need to think about it from that point of view, is like, if I can help them get a win, if I can help them get a result, if I can help them with something going on in their life right now, even before they officially partner with me, then that relationship has started. That relationship has begun. So something to keep in mind is that you need to be paying extra close attention to your numbers right now with your closing averages and your percentages. So let's say, for example, that when times were better economically, it's all kind of like a perspective, right? Better or worse, depends who you ask. But let's just say in terms of the mainstream narrative around the economy and things happening and war and all this confusion around like who's the next president and all this kind of stuff that goes on in election years, especially in the US. I know that doesn't apply to everybody on the call because we have an international team here, but the US stuff seems to still have a ripple effect internationally also. It's just maybe not as intense. We need to be extra mindful to not be, what's the word I'm looking for? In a state of delusion around what we had to do to make our businesses grow, how many people we had to speak to, how many ads we had to launch, what our cost per leads was, and all this stuff, and make sure we keep a finger on the pulse of these adjustments and these changes because those numbers might be different. And it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means that you need to be prepared. So maybe you were talking to 10 people and 3 of them were saying yes, and it might shift to 1 in 10 say yes, just because they don't get approved on financing or they're whatever might be going on. So as soon as you know this and you can make those adjustments and you recalibrate how you operate your business, your schedule, your time, your sales calls, your ads that you're testing, the numbers, all of those metrics, as long as you readjust it to the new numbers, you'll still be profitable, you'll still be successful, you'll still move forward. But in times of economic contractions, how you get ahead is by doubling down and staying laser focused. Okay. So I think like when I look back on where I was at in my life in 2008, for example, and also in 2020, 2021, both of those times were considered bad economic times for a lot of people for a variety of reasons, but I flourished in both of those times. And the reason why is because I was on the side of the fence that went and it was like we attacked the problem and we had the solutions. So back in 2008, I was knocking doors, selling telecom services for people who were going to save money on internet and TV and getting a free laptop if they signed up for a contract and whatever else. So you can imagine that during a recession, people were scared. They were not spending money. They were scared of losing their job, or maybe they did lose their job or whatever. So the general feeling around money was fear-based. And I came and knocked on your door and I said, hey, would you like to save $600, $700, $800 on your home services in the next 12 months? And if you sign up for a contract, we're going to give you these sports channels and we're going to give you this laptop that's like $600 value for free. So you can see that typically if I was trying to sell them something to make them feel like they had to spend money that was on extras or wants or desires, they would probably tell me to F off because they're like, no, my money, I'm saving it, I'm holding it, I'm scared to let go of it. Make sense? But because I came and said, hey, we're going to give you everything you already have right now, except make it better, faster, more efficient, and give you free stuff. And I'm going to put $800, $600 back into your pocket in the next 12 months that you can use towards your bills. Or in this case, right now in 2024, it's inflation or whatever. You see how the pitch was adjusted based on what people were feeling and thinking? So that was great. In 2020 and 2021, same idea. It was people losing their jobs, being forced into making medical decisions that they didn't want to make based on what their boss's criteria was for keeping their job. And a lot of the biggest success stories in the community actually came from that period of time where people decided to quit their job because they didn't want to get the vax or work from home or being away from their kids or whatever. The pain point became more intense. And so that's when they started to look over here and go, what else is there available to me as a solution, as an adjustment, as a change? And a lot of that brought people into this type of home-based business, direct sales, high profit affiliate marketing, and so on. And they've gone on to create massive success in 2, 3, 4 years since that time. The same thing is about to happen again. It's already started, where the the big thing that you got to keep in mind, like the big message with this in terms of how you speak to people, is that people don't want vitamins, they want painkillers. So what does that mean? It means that if you're selling a vitamin, it's considered an extra. It's considered like, oh, it's nice to take these vitamins, but I don't have the money for that right now because I'm focusing on my necessities. I'm focusing on my needs. I'm cutting costs. I'm not splurging or doing extras or whatever. So a lot of our marketing right now needs to be focused around painkillers as opposed to vitamins, okay? And so when you're talking about freedom, travel, lifestyle, luxury, these are things that are for a lot of people, not everybody, but for a lot of people right now, they're not even thinking about this. Like you mention that stuff and they're like, nope, not right now. Right now, I just got to make sure that I'm good in a very simple way, very basic way. But when you still offer an opportunity to solve their pain as a painkiller, then you're going to get people's attention, right? And even around financing or things that might be a little bit tougher for people to get qualified for, they're still willing to be able to do that as long as they see the path of what can happen. So here's another example. Saving money on costs is a huge topic during economic downturns and recessions and stuff, is how can they just simply save money? Now, when it comes to the water and Enagic specifically, they can save money when you understand the difference between price versus cost. Now, the price of a K8 appears to be significantly higher than the price of a bottle of water. So people will say it's ridiculous, it's outrageous, it's too expensive, blah, 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 blah. However, when you actually understand that the price is what you pay once and the cost is what the value that you receive over the lifetime of the product, then as we know, you actually look at the cost as 0.001 of a penny for like a gallon of water instead of $2, $3, $4, $5, $6 for a bottle of some sort of, standard branded bottle of water in the store. So once again, people can look at it and go, well, I can save money long-term from all these products that I'm currently purchasing. That's a win. That makes sense even in a bad economic time. Secondly, taxes. As you have noticed, since inflation, since COVID and so on, a lot of countries, Canada, US, Australia, different places have been jacking up the tax rates for people that are employees or salary-based people. Now, if they're not aware of how to mitigate or lower their taxes, then this is once again like a missed opportunity for everybody. Because if you simply start talking about, look, not only can you save money on consumable things that you're already spending like bottled water, cleaning supplies, and so forth, but you can also write things off that you're currently not able to write off, even while you're learning how to be successful in the business and make sales. So if you don't understand how this works, like you can actually get a write-off on losses for the first 2 years in most places. I can't speak for every country around the world, but when you start a business, you can write off your losses for 2 years after you incorporate. So that gives you additional write-offs where you could be in the negative, not making commissions, not making bonuses, not making sales, but actually be writing off part of your rent and mortgage, part of your car, part of your cell phone, part of these things, and get taxes back at the end of the year rather than owing a bunch of money. So when this is positioned correctly, you're able to actually then make it make sense even without promising and making massive claims like you're going to make 20K a month, 30K a month, which is possible, but a lot of people will never get to that point because they don't do the work, they don't stick with it long enough, they don't follow the training, and all these reasons that we understand is the reason why people don't succeed. It's not that it doesn't work, and it's not that we're making claims or misleading people, is that they themselves don't do their part. But what if the worst case scenario of somebody who didn't make any sales was still a positive ROI on their initial investment with the products, such as consumable savings plus tax write-offs? Those two things in and of itself can still make this a smart move despite what's happening in the economy. Does this making sense for you guys? Let me know in the comments if you understand what I'm saying so far. Put a 1 in the chat if this is making sense, and then I can elaborate a little bit more. It's so weird that I can't see your faces. I don't really like the Zoom webinar feature as much as I like the conversation, because I'm like, there's so many people I can't see anybody. But anyways, we got a whole bunch of ones in here. So when you think about this is great. Thanks for the feedback. So when you think about like the old school network marketer, warm market approach that people had, worked for many, many years, a lot of what was happening initially after a web class, or I guess back then it was more like a presentation of some kind in person, or a DVD, or like a VHS tape, or whatever it was. But they weren't selling the massive big numbers to the new person. They weren't talking about 20K months, 100K months. And the reason for that is because it was too many steps away from their current reality. So if you think about it, think about people's largest expenses right now. For a lot of them, it's going to be their rent or their mortgage is probably the biggest expense that the majority of people have. Now, how much is that, right? So let's say it's $2,000 per month for the average person's rent. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just making up a number. Let's just say it's $2,000 a month. So imagine that what you're talking about is how can you make $2,000 a month part-time that allows you to supplement your income to just take that burden off of your mortgage payment or off of the most significant payment that you have. So you see how the mindset here is meeting them where they're at. It's not talking about taking business class holidays and flights and traveling the world and all this kind of shit, because that's not what they're thinking about. They're stressing out going, it's the 12th of the month. I have 18 days left to pay my rent. You see how it's a very different mindset than, hey, where am I going to travel to next? And let me book the most exotic holiday ever. No. That's completely not on their mind. They're just going, oh man, I'm fucking stressed out. I got 18 days to go to pay this rent. They go on Facebook. They see an ad. They see your content. It's like, hey, listen, do you want to watch a 1-hour training that can help you supplement your income so you don't have to worry about your high rent or your mortgage interest rates that are going through the roof because of inflation? Let me show you how to do that in a 1-hour training. And they go, oh, thank you. You see what I'm saying? Now, on that training, sure, you could have some testimonials or some wins about people that are doing better or bigger numbers than that, but that's not what they care about. They need to step in with their first reason to do this in just a goal that is super hyper easy to achieve. And we know that one direct sale in a single month can pay them a significant amount of money, like $1,000, a couple $1,000, depending on how they start and what they sell. But that is life-changing money for people that are struggling during economic times with high inflation and high fees and stuff like that. Once they make that initial sale, once they get that win, then it's like the next step will reveal itself, and then their brain will start to slowly adapt and go, what if I did 2 sales a month? What if I did 3 a month? Is this making sense? So you want to kind of, it's the same analogy as somebody who's overweight, never goes to the gym, has never eaten healthy, has never lifted up weights, and you trying to tell them about like competing in a bodybuilding, show. And they're like, are you serious? Like, I am terrified. I don't even know what the equipment is in the gym. Like, what do you mean a bodybuilding competition? Are you insane? But if it's like, hey, let's go and get on the treadmill and just put it on 1 speed and walk for 5 minutes and then like stretch and just like show you around the gym, show you the equipment. You know what I mean? Like the most simplest day one ever. Then people will go, oh, that was easy. And like, I'm not that sore and I can go again tomorrow. And next thing you know, that same individual 2, 3, 4, 5 years from today might actually do a bodybuilding competition or some kind of a show, but it took time. So I think that all of us need to be very, very mindful right now. What is the angle we're talking about? And is it too much focused on this vitamin, extras, wants, desires, and so forth? When we got to bring it back to step 1, and let's help you surround yourself with a community of people who are not victims to society, victims to the economy, victims to the election and all this type of stuff, sitting back, being, somebody who bitches and complains and whatever. let's shift our mindset over here where everybody is solution oriented. We have each other's backs. We understand that life is hard, and we're trying to help each other make it less intense during this period right now. Does this make sense? So then what will happen is you'll get less of the haters. You'll get less of the people talking shit that it's a scam and all of this, because you're not overselling. It's still possible what you're saying. You're not lying to them, but it's like step 100 instead of step 1. And all of us, when we look at the way that the business model is designed, we all start at 1A. Then we go to 2A, and then we go to 3A, and then we go to 4A. And in my case, I'm 6A2-6, is like the stuff that I think about, the stuff that I create, the stuff that I talk about with my wife, the problems that I have are very, very, very far from the problems of somebody who just got started on day one and they're just looking to supplement their income and take some of that pressure and financial stress off that they're currently experiencing with their family. But I do remember exactly what that feels like. And I do remember that if I got a $100 commission or a $200 commission or a $500 commission in a month, I was jumping for joy around my living room. Like, are you serious? Oh my gosh, this is going to cover my freaking hydro bill. This is going to cover my cable bill. This is going to cover, yes! Or I can get like some new socks, man, because I got holes in my socks and I've been just ignoring that for a minute. I remember that feeling. Does this make sense? So what makes this more beautiful for us is that even just that initial first sale and that first point of commission could be like $1,000 for a trifecta. It's quite significant. And so imagine the joy that someone receives from just making that their goal and then building from that. All right, so that's the major part about what I wanted to share. The other part that I wanted to share is around creating urgency with your team members. I think that sometimes what happens is that people get so distracted during these times. They get caught up with the Olympics, they get caught up with summer, they get caught up with all these different things that like they take their eyes off the prize. They take their eyes off what they have, and they start looking at shiny objects and faster solutions and things that they feel like they almost have this anxiety towards making money, that even though they have this beautiful business right in front of them, they start looking at other things that are shiny objects out there on social media. And some of the ones recently that are really hurting people and they don't even realize it are things like these trading crypto things. Just stay away from it, guys. It's bad, bad, bad for you. It's bad to put it on your reputation. People lose money. Just stay away from this stuff. If you're going to invest your money, invest it directly, right? Like if you're somebody who believes in cryptocurrencies, and there's all kinds of different projects out there. I personally also believe in it and I invest in it as well, but I'm investing in it directly, not through some platform, not through somebody who manages my stuff. I buy it, I keep it, I control it, and that's it. And I don't sit there thinking about it all day. It's like a savings thing. It's a hedge against inflation, and that's it. So if you're doing something like that, do that. But as soon as you turn around to like, I'm going to put in my money into this thing that is promising me this return, and the only way for this to really make sense is if I start promoting it and telling other people about it, because you're going to get some kind of kickback on anything they invest, or a match like $1 for $1. If they invest $1, you get $1, some shit like this. And you actually have to promote it. And it's a quote unquote crypto bot, trading bot, Forex thing, whatever. I highly, highly suggest you don't, because it will make you look stupid. It really will. And if you lose the money and it turns out to be a scam, that's going to tarnish. That's going to actually tarnish your reputation with Enagic, which is a legitimate, real opportunity. But they're just going to put you into the scam bucket. Well, that thing was a scam, so this Enagic thing must also be a scam. And it makes everyone else in Enagic look bad also, because of other people's actions by putting their hands in things they shouldn't be putting. So I can't tell you what to do. It's your life. If you're like, oh, sure, whatever, Balazs, I think this thing's going to pay me $1 bajillion and watch this. learn the hard way. It's fine. I've been around for a long time. None of them have ever made it. Okay. So I've been around in this business for 11 years and there's been a lot of them. Bots, crypto, Forex, trading, double your money, blah, blah, blah. I've heard it all. Not one of them is still here today in 11 years. So does that tell you enough, or do you need to find out for yourself? And then in a year or 2 years or 3 years, when they all go bust, then we'll have another conversation and you'll be in the chat being like, yep, he was right. I lost X amount of dollars and I scammed people and nah. Or can you just do what is a better idea, which is just to listen to people who've been around as a mentor, as a coach, as an advisor, and just say, stay away. The next thing that is also a major distraction right now is this MRR, master reselling rights type of thing, okay? Once again, there are some pros and cons with everything, and I could see why it is attractive to people to get involved in this, but I'm telling you, it's also bad news because it's just recycling and recycling and recycling, and 99% of the stuff that is being sold in this way isn't even valuable. It's something you can find for free on YouTube. So once again, your name will be attached to something that eventually will come out and be more of a obvious, as it's not really a real sustainable business model, and it doesn't have leverage. It doesn't have long-term value in it. It's just a way to make quick money. I don't recommend it. It is making its way through lots of different network marketing companies and communities and countries. And if you've heard about it or experienced it, it might have come through your organization already or people you see doing it and stuff. And every once in a while, there's these things that come through that can really disrupt your business, right? It can really disrupt your community. And we have to just be mindful of it. It's just like a massive test that comes through, and it tests your leadership, it tests your commitment, it tests your loyalty and all this type of stuff. But I promise you guys that if we look at, like, this is the best way for me to say it. If we look at people who've been staying on path with one thing, like myself with Enagic for 11 years, and we look at people who jump ship to shiny objects, who do this, who do that, who do that, who do that, who do that, and then now they're back in Enagic because we know, and you've probably seen this. If you haven't, you're going to see this, that all roads lead back to Enagic. It is like the perfect partner, like spouse. I shouldn't say perfect. It is like a spouse who has all the best qualities in a spouse, but they're not perfect. You know, they have some things about their personality, or maybe they got some bad habits, or maybe they get under your skin and they annoy you sometimes or whatever. And so you're like, well, they're not perfect. So they're maybe not a 20 out of 10 in terms of their aesthetics or their physical appearance. Maybe this, maybe that. So you judge them on all the things they don't have. And then you leave and go on Tinder and try to find some new person. And you make your way through a bunch of people and you realize, man, you know what? This person was actually amazing. You know, I love them for who they are. They're not perfect, but they had the right morals. They treated me the right way, da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's like you messed up chasing something over here when you had the really solid one all along. That's what Enagic is. It's not a perfect business. It has its challenges. It's constantly getting better. It's constantly improving. But the things that truly matter, right, that actually matter in a long-term sustainable business where I can create legacy, that makes a difference in people's lives, has the right type of leadership with the right values, the right morals, and all of the rest of it, Enagic has all of that. And so for people to leave and go, oh, I can make faster money over here, or I can do this thing that's trending right now, I can go do the CBD KY jelly butt cream thing that's, you know, popping off, and like just whatever. And you're just like, oh my gosh, another one. Annoying. And then that person goes and launches that, they make a couple bucks, and then all of a sudden 6 years from now they're like, yeah, I'm back in Enagic, you know, none of these things worked out, but Enagic has been true to me all along, da 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 da. It's literally what happens, okay? And I've seen it time and time and time and time again. And so you can learn from this yourself by being like, look, if I just double down on this one company, if I ignore the noise and I stay true, you will make so much more progress over the long term. It doesn't matter what these things are that are launching right now. In an economy that is going into a recession, guess what happens? The most number of new ideas get launched because people are trying to save themselves. You know what I mean? So they're like, okay, well, where could I put the CBD cream? Maybe let's put it in KY jelly. Yeah, let's start an MLM around it. You're like, all right, cool, bro. And then like all of a sudden, like economy, a couple years later, it doesn't make it, right? Like the company fails. So stay true to what this is. All roads lead back to Enagic. There's nobody that I know who has left to go do something even remotely in this space that has become more successful than what we've created in Enagic. That's just facts. There's not a single person. So when you're looking at your level of action in the next couple of years, this is my suggestion to you. My suggestion to you is this. In the next 18 months to 2 years, you can dramatically change your family's future by what you do now and how you show up now. Okay? So this is not the time to try to have so much work-life balance. This is the time to double down and be hyper productive and hyper focused, because people are looking, okay? People are looking, their pain is increasing, their expenses are getting out of hand. The inflation continues to hammer and hammer and hammer people. And so what's going to happen is if you're quiet, if you're hiding, if you're procrastinating, if you're distracted, any of that stuff, these people will join someone else. And it might be in Enagic, it might be in GPM, or it might be another opportunity, or it might even be the CBD KY butt cream company. And we don't want that. We don't want that. We want to help people with the thing that is going to help them the most. And it's our job, it's our duty, it's our responsibility to be loud right now. You know what I mean? This is our time to be loud. When the COVID stuff happened, my business grew by 20% that first year. And since then, it's been growing by 30% year over year the last 4 years. This is our opportunity to show people that what the masses consider, you know, a scam or whatever negative perception they have, why is it that when things start to fall apart, we're the ones that thrive? That can't be a scam. That means that we're operating outside of the things that are also interconnected in corporate America, with stocks, with real estate, with mortgage prices, with inflation. All of that stuff is very closely correlated because it's part of the matrix. It's all connected. But we're operating over here on the side, arm's reach away. So we're in control of our way of acquiring interested people. We're in control of our actions with networking, with communicating. We have a global infrastructure in business, and not every country in the world experiences economic issues at the same time in the same way. So there might be some places in the world that are thriving or going up in terms of their global status as an economy. For example, India is like booming, and a lot of us have always thought of a place like India as struggling economically. That's no longer true. It's shifting, it's changing. They're like becoming more and more powerful, where other nations that have been historically powerful are actually hurting and in decline and have a lot of issues. So we have a global opportunity to redirect our focus and attention to different places. This means that the rules that other people are operating by don't apply to us in the same sense. So all I'm getting at here is whenever you hear the negativity and, people are complaining about XYZ, don't fall into the trap. Don't, include your own complaints, your own problems, and say, yeah, me too, and this sucks too, and like try to fit in with that type of conversation. Be the person who's a contrarian thinker and be like, actually, no, I disagree. I think this is a great opportunity for people to see the power and potential of working for themselves, of leveraging the internet, of being a part of a community that provides training and support and teaches you the skills to set your family free. This is the best time to start a business like this, not the worst time. You are the one that can dictate this conversation into a positive light by just having people look at things differently. So do not miss the opportunity for you to be the light, to be the leader, to actually speak about how you're excited about what's happening, because that's the truth. The people who see this as an opportunity will prosper and grow and help a lot of people, right? Things will go on sale. Assets will go on sale, real estate will go on sale, really good companies and stocks will go on sale. But if you don't have the money to invest because you're scrambling and you're barely able to survive paying for stuff because you're so consumed on social media and you're watching the news and you're doing all these things rather than working on your business, rather than learning how to run ads, but rather learning how to help people and get them started inside of Enagic, then you won't have the money to take advantage of anything, right? And that's where literally all of us who've been in the game for quite some time, we're always building towards these types of contractions. And then when you think about wealthy people, like I'll give you an example of someone super wealthy, like Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is moving a lot of his positions into cash. I don't even know. He's got a crazy amount of cash, like 100 billion, 200 billion, something insane of just cash sitting there. And he's like waiting for things to go on sale, right? We get excited about like Amazon Prime sales. This guy gets excited about a company crashing 40%. So he gets a 40% off sale on all that stock that's going to make him, triple his income. So this is what we need to think about is when you're looking at what are your goals in Enagic for sales or revenue or income or whatever, start to add an additional 50% on top of your number. Like if your goal is 10 grand a month, make your goal 20 grand a month. So you have 50% of that to invest. Does this make sense? So it's like, I need 10 grand for this, and this. Let me add another 50% on top, or I guess in that case, it's 100% where you're doubling it to 20,000. So you have 10 grand just to buy up things that are going to go on sale. And if you have this mentality in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, you're going to come out the other side much more prosperous, much more ahead of the game, way less stressed, and helping a ton of people get what they're ultimately looking for anyways, which is a painkiller, okay? People want to avoid pain significantly more than they want to gain pleasure. And if you're only focusing on talking about gaining pleasure right now with people when they're so consumed and stressed out about avoiding pain and mitigating pain, then you're going to miss people because they're just writing it off. They're like, I don't have time for this right now. What I need is a solution to this. So meet people where they're at and talk about that, and it will make such a big difference in your overall results because it's gonna continue happening. We're just kind of at the beginning. But when you look at people's credit cards or their savings or these types of things, sometimes people have enough money or enough credit or enough room where they don't take things seriously until it's too late. You know what I mean? So like maybe inflation is starting to affect them, but they're like, you know what? I'll just put the difference, that extra $1,000 a month on my expenses. I'll just put that on a card. It's fine. It'll get better. Inflation will go down, right? It's like this process of being in denial. But as the time goes by, it starts to creep up and climb up, and the interest rates are going, like the interest that they're paying on their credit card starts to be like overwhelming. And this happens and their car breaks down. And it's just like this negative thing. And then what? It's like they've ran out of options. So now is the time for people to start making some of these changes and these adjustments. And we could be the voice of reason for that. So I'll stop there and I'll open it up for a little bit of questions. But based on what I'm sharing so far, is this giving you guys like an aha moment around how you can actually remind yourselves of who your target audience is and how you can meet them where they're at rather than 10 steps away or 20 steps away from now? Because I think a lot of you guys forget that if you're full-time or working from home, or that is such a dream for people, but they feel like it's just so unattainable for them as the next step. Awesome. Yeah, remember where you were at. And ask people, engage people more. Ask them questions like, based on what's going on in the economy right now, what is your biggest concern? What is the number one thing that you're thinking about? What is the one thing that would be nice if you were able to pay it off each month without stress? And obviously we know that it's going to be rent, mortgage, some of these bigger expenses, and then base your call to action around that. Be like, if I could show you a way to alleviate your rent or mortgage payment by just making one sale a month, And we'll show you how to do that with our training, with our platform, with our education, with our support, working with me, locking arms with me one-on-one, whatever, something like that. Is that something that you'd spend 30 to 60 minutes watching a web class where we explain and break that down? Is that worth your time to figure out how you can basically stop stressing about the biggest expense you currently have in your life? And they'll be like, yeah, okay, I watch an hour a night of Netflix or something like that anyways. As opposed to, click here to learn the $30,000 to $50,000 per month blueprint, which sometimes people go, you know what, that's just way too many steps away. And I'm not saying it doesn't work. I know you guys are getting sales, but as the economy shifts, it's good to actually test out these different ways of talking to people where it feels like something within arm's reach, as opposed to something that might take 3, 4, 6, 9 months until they have a $30,000 month, which is still relatively short, but not when people are economically stressed out. Yeah, exactly. We have to annihilate the limiting beliefs. Give people a simple win, a small, simple win as like a first step. It's like, all right, we're going to go to the gym. You're going to stand on the treadmill and we're going to walk for 1 minute. So they're like, oh, I'm pretty sure I could do that. Some questions that are coming through. Let me focus on it. Yeah, so basically the questions that are coming through from Saber and from BB are talking about like how pain points can be lower vibe, and do we only talk about that because some coaches preach not to go into pain points, etc. It's kind of like doing it in a way where it's both. It's not only pain. It's like you're initiating the conversation in a place that's relatable, building that rapport where they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel understood. You still can talk about the potential. You can talk about the benefits from the pleasure side of it, of like what is possible and what you can also achieve. But I think that sometimes people just have that initial thing is too big of a jump, right? And I think that's how you can bridge the gap, is trying to find out where they're truly at, and if they don't make a change, what is the option? What you need to do is get people in to take a look, right? And one of my favorite ways of engaging people is like, just let me know if you see what I see. And so what we need to do is ask them questions that makes them take this seriously and urgently, so that this becomes their priority to look into. And if we can get more eyeballs on the offer, more people to finish the web classes or the materials that explains what we do and how we do it, if we can just up the numbers on how many people take a look, then all the other numbers will start to improve as well, right? We're going to get a higher conversion percentage. We're going to get a higher people coming through. And what we need to do when the markets are contracting is we need to increase the top of the funnel numbers, which means it's the first interaction, the first look. And that's what I'm talking about. So someone might not be as motivated and inspired by traveling the world right now as they are about paying their current expenses with less stress and anxiety. That's kind of what I mean. Is will they think about travel again once they stop being in a state of panic because of what's going on around them? Probably. But right now they probably have made an internal commitment to be like, I'm not even thinking about going on a holiday until this inflation eases off or until XYZ happens with the economy or whatever. And so we can actually meet them where they're at. That's what I'm talking about. If your audience is someone who is most likely not in a stressed out state and they have more than enough money, they're in an upper class income level, then that might not make sense for your audience and who you're talking to. But if you are talking to people that are trading time for money in a 9 to 5, they're most likely being hammered by inflation, taxes, and the fear of what's happening in the economy. And they're probably got a negative mindset. They're probably watching the news and that kind of stuff. But that doesn't mean that they couldn't turn that around, right? A lot of us weren't so positive people back before we started this. We were positive deep down, but we had this mask that we started to wear because everybody around us was negative. Everybody was a complainer. Everybody was a victim to their circumstances. So we just became that. And then all of a sudden, when we get introduced to people like us who think differently, who see things differently, it's like they start to like shed that away. And they're like, oh, it feels so nice to be like who I'm actually feel like I am deep inside. And then they become like, they come home to themselves and they're more positive and grateful and optimistic because we give them permission to be that way because everybody in the community is like that. Does that make sense? It's almost like people will look at your, you might have even had this with your audience, with your engagement, or like comments like you're out of touch with reality, or you're like entitled, or you have privilege, or these types of words that sometimes gets thrown around by people. And that's usually why, is that they're looking at it like you're so far from the reality of where we are at, or where I am at, is that there's that gap. But if you can actually meet them and say, hey, look, I get it. I've been in this situation in the past. I used to have credit card collectors calling me. Or maybe you talk about your experience from 2008. If you were in some kind of negative situation with your job or your income or your bills or your debt, or maybe 2020, 2021, you ran into some challenges during that period of time. And maybe that's around the time that you got introduced to this potentially. Or maybe you just got started here with us recently, but you have a lot of these thoughts where you were thinking about it for the last few years. Like, man, I got to make a change. I got to try something new. I got to take back control over my life, over my income, over my possibilities. Like, I got to get back in the driver's seat, man. I can't just wait around for other people to give me a raise, or for the government to switch the policy, or for inflation to go down. I cannot sit here and just let this happen to me. I've had enough. I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to go back on offense. I'm going to take a step. I'm going to learn. I'm going to take action, and I'm going to get the job done. That's most likely where a lot of you were at recently. Am I right? Is that the mindset that you had? Is that the decision-making process that you had? So much of what we can do to grow our businesses actually is correlated directly with our own thinking process, right? So what I mean by that is, how many of you right now on this call at one point never saw yourself doing a business like this? You thought it was bad. You thought it was negative. You thought these people were scammy or something like this. And then something shifted. Maybe you watched a video. Maybe you saw something on YouTube. Maybe a friend of yours started to have success and you witnessed it and you're like, that's different. Maybe I should be more open-minded. Maybe I should ask some questions. Maybe I should watch that web class. Maybe I should get on a call. Do you see how our own process of thinking is very common for other people? So we can actually look at our own skepticism, our own questions, our own fears, our own limiting beliefs, our own doubts as powerful resources to actually go and speak to others and meet them where they're at, because you're just like them too. I'm just like you as well. Very few of us were like, great, sounds awesome, I'm in, here's my money, without ever having some form of, wait a minute, is it like this? Wait a minute, I need to know that. I have questions. I need to do some research. I need to understand this. You know what I'm saying? There's always a healthy level of that resistance and skepticism prior to going all in and truly believing in what we're doing. Exactly. We're all in a totally different mindset now. That makes perfect sense because you're being influenced to see the world through a new set of beliefs and paradigms. But what I'm saying is, meet people back where they're at by sharing the relatability of things that you've experienced, that you've gone through, or even just stuff like your perspective around online businesses. How did you initially think about them when you first heard about it? Maybe it was years back. What about this whole idea around building a team or getting leveraged income off of other people's sales? Did you always think that that was a positive thing, or did you feel like some type of way about it that was more on the negative side at some point? What about, the price point of the products themselves? At one point, did you think it was outrageous or too expensive, or you didn't understand the value? It didn't make sense. Does this making sense? So most of us, if we think back to that thinking process of like 3 to 6 months before we got started, what were we thinking? Did we start having thoughts while we're at our job like, fuck, I'm really not happy? And then you kind of forget about it for a while. And then something happens at work and you're like, man, I can't believe I still am doing this for my job. Oh. And then the next day, it's not so bad and you forget about it. And it becomes something you thought about every once in a while, to something you think about once a month, to something you think about once a week, to something you think about once a day, to something you think about obsessively, like, oh, I hate my job, I hate my job, I hate my job. And then that finally is the reason why you saw the ad or picked up the phone or took action or whatever, because you just got pushed for so long. This is how most people are thinking. There's a lot of people out there right now who have, ever since COVID, 2020, 2021, in the back of their head, have literally known that what they're doing, how they're doing it, how they're being paid, how they're managing their calendar, income, taxes is not working. Like, they're fully freaking aware for 4 years. They're like, but they haven't done anything about it. Why is that? Because the pain hasn't hurt enough, right? And now as these things start to happen in the economy, it's like another punch to the face and another punch to the face and another punch. And at some point, they will go, that's it. This thing that I've always thought of as being risky is actually the least risky thing that I can do, because waiting around for the last 3 or 4 years has shown me that this is much riskier than taking action and going all in on something. Yeah, you guys have lots of great points in here. So that's basically my message, guys. We're going to prosper as a community. We're going to band together. We're going to stick together. We're going to get through these rocky times because, like I said, we are the ones that have the painkillers and the vitamins. We're just presenting the painkillers first, and then they'll see that there's also vitamins included with this investment and this community and the products and the business. But we just have to focus on what they're thinking about now as a bridge to get them from where they are to where they ultimately want to be in steps, right? And once we help them get those micro wins right out of the start and start feeling the positivity of like they made the right decision, they have a lot of interest, they're learning new things, they're meeting new friends in the community, all these positive things start to happen, then we can build upon that and say, okay, if you can get 1 sale a month, you can get 2. And if you can get 2, you can get 3. And if you can make a few $1,000 to alleviate your expenses, then it's possible for you to also make some serious big money too. But let's help people with that evolution of what they believe is possible rather than starting there right away on day one. Love and appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming out here on this call. I'll be putting this episode onto my Diamond Life Mentor podcast as well. It should come out next week. So if you guys want to have a re-listen to it on the podcast, you can. And one final thing I'm going to share is that we've been working hard behind the scenes on the GPM system, and there's going to be 3 moving pieces to that. And the first piece, like phase 1, is going to be the GPM community. And it's really, really exciting that we're going to be opening up those doors very soon. We'll keep you posted. And that's going to be the first phase of what becomes available to everybody. And then as things get finished and ready to launch, we'll be releasing those details as well. So stay tuned. The GPM community app is coming very, very soon, and I can't wait to have all of you guys in there and start doing these calls in there and having tons of resources in there that we currently have never had in any of the communities that I've seen. So that's coming soon. I'll see you guys in there, and I'll keep you posted on those details when they're ready, and we'll give you all the steps on how to get in there. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you again next month on the next GPM live call, which will be in the new community hub. All right, take care. Bye-bye.